United States of America and the People's Republic of China have agreed to recognize each other.
Two announcements from opposite sides of the globe set off worldwide reaction.
From ABC in New York, this is World News Tonight, the Saturday Report with Tom Gerald.
Today on mainland China in Shanghai, Chinese sang "God Bless America." In Taiwan, angry crowds dragged the American flag through the streets. And on French TV, a commentator called the establishment of U.S.-Chinese diplomatic relations one of the major events of our era. It was on Taiwan where the reaction was the sharpest. Thousands of angry young people converged on the U.S. Embassy, tossing rocks and eggs and overturning American cars. It was the climax of tension which was beginning to build as Jim Laurie filed this report shortly after the people learned President Carter had decided to drop them in favor of the communist government in Peking.
Here at Taiwan's national government headquarters, there were day-long closed-door meetings. Martial law was declared, and the reaction of Taiwan's President Zhang Jingguo when he heard the news from U.S. Ambassador Leonard Unger was bitter and angry. Zhang accused the U.S. of going back on promises, of damaging the rights and interests of Taiwan, and Zhang said he held the U.S. responsible for the consequences. At the U.S. military compound, most of the nearly 2,000 U.S. troops and advisors in Taiwan stayed indoors. They will have to move out of this compound by March 1st. On the streets, there was a mixture of shock, bitterness, and confusion. Students erected wall posters all over town, and thousands turned out to read them, some of them saying, "President Carter is a traitor. He's the peanut politician. The U.S. has sold us out, and it's a dirty shame." At the U.S. Embassy, crowds gathered to demonstrate, and in one episode, a U.S. Embassy car entering the compound was draped in banners and mobbed by angry students. Police finally helped the Americans inside the compound. By nightfall, angry denunciations were still going up on walls near the U.S. Embassy, but police had moved in to quell demonstrations. The reaction here in Taiwan was more bitter than many expected. Here outside the U.S. Embassy, students kept a nighttime vigil behind police barricades. Inside the embassy, the ambassador continued meetings, preparing to close this facility sometime early in the new year. Jim Laurie, ABC News in Taipei.
This is Bill Redeker. It was a jubilant Premier Hua Kuo-feng who entered Peking's Great Hall of the People to tell his people and news reporters that normalization would end, as he put it, a prolonged abnormal relationship between the U.S. and China. This is an historic event, he said. But what he didn't say, at least not directly, is that China made several concessions which helped produce the surprise announcement. For instance, would China permit the U.S. to continue providing military assistance to Taiwan, he was asked. "We can absolutely not agree to this," said Hua. "It is detrimental to a peaceful settlement of the Taiwan question." Hua also approved continued U.S. cultural and commercial ties to Taiwan, while not objecting to President Carter's stated hopes for a peaceful settlement of the Taiwan question. Outside in Tiananmen Square, thousands of Chinese gathered to read newspaper accounts of the announcement. One American in China said he was embraced by a Chinese man who said, "Isn't it wonderful?" Meanwhile, millions of others viewed Hua on national television, including members of the Chinese army who have had to worry about China's 4,000-mile border with militarily superior Russia. One analyst said China was tired of waiting for Americans to play the China card, so the Chinese played the American card. But the chief of the U.S. Liaison Office, Leonard Woodcock, preferred to tell television viewers that normalization would produce peace, not potential conflict.
This agreement is not only good for the peoples of China and of the United States, but for the peoples of the whole world, because it will strengthen the forces of peace in the world.
It should also strengthen the forces